Well, just before his scheduled execution, with just a few precious hours to live, Julius Jones has been granted clemency without the possibility of parole by Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt. I want to bring in my panel of legal experts to weigh in on the governor's decision and what it means for Julius moving forward. And joining me now is criminal defense attorney and vice president of the Atlanta NAACP, Gerald Griggs, and criminal defense attorney David Otunga. Glad you are both with us this evening. I don't know if you just heard the Reverend, but whoo, there's a lot of happiness going on here. But I got to talk to you guys about the realities here. The governor made his announcement just a few hours before Julius was scheduled to be executed. His decision came as hundreds of supporters anxiously waited right outside the prison. I want to show you some of what happened in the moments after news of his clemency broke. Watch this first. Julius, his family, his supporters, they've been fighting for clemency for 20 years. So I need to get your reactions to today's news. Gerald, you first. What do you think of this?
I think this is a momentous step for the activists and the family. It's very rare that you get a commutation like this in a death penalty case. 7 million people signed the petitions. A large amount of influencers and high profile individuals stepped up, including Steve Kerr. So my hat's off to them. This is a marvel feat to get this type of commutation.
David, how about you? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is great news. And this just shows the power of what people can do when they all band together. And Gerald is right. I mean, there were so many celebrities, athletes, everybody banded together. There was a great documentary about this produced by Viola Davis and really just shed light on this case and who Julius is and what's going on here. I mean, personally, I don't think that anybody should be on death row when there's this much doubt about their guilt. It would have been, it ultimately it would be nice for Julius to eventually one day get a new case, but you have to start where you are. And I mean, this is the first step. And like the Reverend said, who was on before, we're hopeful because, he said it right. Ultimately, God's in control of this.
Absolutely. Now, we know a short time after granting Julius clemency, the governor Stitt, he actually put out a tweet explaining his decision. This is what he said, quote, after prayerful consideration and reviewing materials presented by all sides of this, I have determined to commute Julius Jones' sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Now, many are viewing today's decision as bittersweet because his life was spared, but then he adds without possibility for parole. David, I'll start with you. What do you make of the governor's statement here?
Yeah, and this is what I was alluding to. I mean, on the one hand, this is a great step, don't get me wrong, because he went from death row to now life in prison. Now, without the possibility of parole, uh, to me, that's like the governor's kind of hedging. But at least this is a step in the right direction because it would be nice for Julius to at least have parole at some point, go before the parole board, or like I said before, ultimately get a new trial. But you've seen the support. You've seen what can happen. I mean, they got this commutation. If people keep fighting, who knows? Things could still change.
Well, Gerald, why do you think it took the governor so long to act? After all this time, you'd think that he would have already known what he was going to do. Was this politics? Was it optics? What happened here?
I think it was definitely politics. You have a governor who's a Republican governor who's run on a tough on crime policy. You have an individual who's charged and convicted of murder. He doesn't want to seem soft. But you also have to look at the 7 million individuals, all the high profile celebrities that have thrown their weight behind this particular case, and the fact that there's doubt, extreme amount of doubt in this particular case. So he hedged his bets. He said that he would commute his sentence, but he also put in there that tough on crime stance where he's not going to allow him to have access to the possibility of parole. So I think he has his bets, but I'm encouraged by the activists. I'm encouraged by his family who have said that they're going to continue in this fight, and it's because of their Herculean effort that even got this far. So I believe that once they elect another governor, they will have an opportunity to get a possibility of parole or maybe even a new trial.
Yeah, that's what the Reverend was saying earlier, that he was hoping that that would happen. And we know the support for Julius these last few months, it's been tremendous. Almost 7 million people signed a petition calling for him to be granted clemency. As you were saying, David, we heard from celebrities like Kim Kardashian and Steph Curry. They all voiced their support. David, how much of an impact do you think that actually had on the governor's decision?
Oh, I think it had a tremendous impact. I mean, because that brought so much awareness. You're talking 7 million people who signed the petition. Like, this has been going on for 20 years. Now, this is national front page news. Like, everybody knew about this and on social media. I mean, it's because of this awareness. I mean, Steph Curry's having a great season, doesn't get much better than that. And Steph Curry is, talking about this. Little kids are now like, oh, what's Steph talking about? Julius Jones. Oh, who's that? I mean, it's their reach is widespread.
Yeah, you absolutely can't deny that. Now, Gerald and David, we're going to take a quick break right now. Don't go anywhere. We still have a lot more legal ground to cover. And we're going to have an update now on another inmate who's been living on death row. Today, we learned that Purvis Payne has been removed from death row in Memphis, Tennessee. The Shelby County District Attorney announced today that she is no longer pursuing the death penalty for Payne. Instead, he'll now serve 2 consecutive life sentences for his conviction in the murder of a 28-year-old mother and her 2-year-old daughter. But Purvis Payne has denied committing those crimes. The DA says she made the decision because state experts determined that Payne has an intellectual disability. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled executing a person with an intellectual disability is cruel and unusual punishment.